right, you welcome back, and I'm sure you enjoyed that recorded. It was actually recorded, and we were talking about the hospitality industry and the need for us to upscale, uh, most especially skilled personnel. All right, it's still morning, right? Tuesday's edition, and remember earlier on when I opened up the series this morning, I told you that the United Nations has set aside today, the 26th of November, every year to mark the World Iron Deficiency Day. The World Iron Deficiency Day, it's a day set aside to raise awareness about the importance of iron for our bodies. Obviously, iron is essential for transporting oxygen to our blood cells, converting foods into energy, and maintaining a healthy immune system. And so joining me today, also she's already seated in the studio, to speak to that conversation on the World Iron Deficiency Day, I have Dr. Idoteyin, Internal Auditor, Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Delta State. Dr. E, I'd like to welcome you to our studio.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, we're speaking of camera when we're trying to actually educate me on the world on iron deficiency. So, like I did say, today it's a day that has been set aside annually. Iron deficiency is a widespread problem affecting about 1 in 3 persons worldwide, particularly young children and premenopausal women and people from low and middle income countries. Obviously, if left untreated, iron deficiency can lead to anemia, fatigue, weakness, and impaired cognitive function. So quickly, can you explain what iron deficiency is and why is it significant to public health concern?
Okay, so thank you very much. Just like you rightly said, today is World Iron Deficiency Day, and today, 26th November, is set aside to create awareness on this very serious issue that is affecting our women, affecting children worldwide. And like you also said, it's affecting millions. And this is something that we must always come to the media to talk about and remind our people that this is something that is really amongst us. So why is iron deficiency very important? So just like you said now, iron is that, we might call it mineral in the body that we need for the body to function. It's part of what the red blood cells, I mean in school we know all the cells in the body. We have the red, we have the white blood cells, and we have the platelets. We all have their different functions, but the red blood cell is function. It's the one that carries the oxygen, and blood around the body. And so iron is a serious component of the red blood cells. And if you don't have the iron to make the red blood cells, then definitely you will now have low blood, which is what we call anemia. So if you don't have iron, you will have anemia, which is low blood. And then low blood can cause a lot of issues. And for our women especially, when they even get pregnant, it can lead to a lot of things, even death ultimately, which is what we want to come and prevent by talking about the need for them to optimize iron in women and also in children. So it's very important. It affects millions, and especially women in low-income countries like our country. Even though we are saying that we are developing, one day we will come out of low income and enter high income. But for now, a lot of our women don't even have access, to healthy foods that are rich in iron. So we are using this form to create awareness on behalf of Medical Women Association of Nigeria, both national, Delta State. This is done across the nation. So for us in Delta State, we're using this as a medium to tell our women that we need to be more serious, will I say, or look at this thing called iron, because it's very important. It's killing a lot of our women, it's affecting a lot of our children. So we are coming here to speak on iron deficiency, that it affects our women, can cause death, excessive bleeding, can cause weakness, can cause miscarriage, can cause infertility. The list is endless. Now, our children can make them, they won't even be able to function well in school, no cognitive function, and ultimately to affect productivity, which can affect the nation. So, I mean, we need to make sure that our women are not anemic due to low iron.
Okay, so quickly, as a rider to that response from you, how common is iron deficiency, and which populations are mostly affected? Because just like you did say, women and children, and the men not also.
Okay, I know. The men might feel that they are out of this, but the women know because of their monthly menstrual flow, so they are actually prone to iron deficiency. Because most of them, they see their monthly period. After that, they don't even take supplements to replace whatever blood was has been lost. So you can imagine when the woman now comes to take in, and because of increased utilization, one of the things that can cause iron deficiency is when you're not taking in enough that you should take, or there's increased utilization, which happens especially when the woman is pregnant. They say she's eating for two, so you have the one that her body is using, the one that the baby too is also taking from her to also develop. So it's very common, especially in our environment. In short, it's said that worldwide we have over 100 million people affected by iron deficiency anemia, and most of the cases that we see are caused, most of the anemic cases, most of the low blood we see in our women are usually caused by low iron content, because most of the time they don't even eat well. They don't even have access to the food that is rich in iron. Because one of the food that we usually advocates for that women should eat is animal meat, chicken. I mean, how much is chicken now these days? So with the way the economy is, so we're talking about fruits rich in vitamin C. It's also very helpful. So we have oranges, we have pineapple, but you hear people complaining they are very expensive. So they rather eat what they can afford. But what you can afford, does it contain what you need for your body to develop well? So for our women, most of the time, if they have money now, they're thinking of how to care for their children, how to care for their husbands. They forget about themselves. So we are saying that don't put yourself at the back burner, because you are the one giving birth to the children, taking care of them. So you need to make sure that you yourself don't become anemic. So you need to start eating foods that are rich in iron. And then there are also some things that we take that reduces iron absorption in the body. One of it is coffee, another one is tea. So we advocate that you should reduce that, but increase what will help iron to be absorbed more in the body. One of it is take a lot of vitamin C, a lot of fruits rich in vitamin C, green leafy vegetables. Thank God we have a lot of vegetables in our environment. And then we have a lot of meat too, please. Beef, whatever, but animal meat. Then beans too is also rich in iron. So we're advocating that we take in a lot of all those food, because it's actually common. If you come to our hospitals, you see a lot of women that have anemia. More than 50% of them is caused by lack of iron, because it's not by seeing somebody that the person's iron is low. A test is usually done in the hospital, and from the test you know if the person has adequate iron content or not. And I must say that anemia is one of the causes of maternal mortality. In Nigeria now, our maternal mortality rate is 1,000 per 100,000 live births. So we are trying to say that if 100,000 women go to the hospitals now to give birth, from our statistics, about 1,000 don't come back home with their children, and that is an alarming statistic. From what the WHO is hoping to achieve by 2030, they want that number to reduce to 70, and this is one way we can reduce that. If our mothers can make sure that they eat well, and then they are not anemic, because hemorrhage, which is bleeding, is one of the things that can result from low iron. Because like we said when we started, iron is part of what the red blood cells needs to transport oxygen around the body. And when you're pregnant and you're carrying your baby, you need a lot of blood flow, to your womb to circulate around. So once you don't even have the blood, before you do it, you're talking about preterm labor. Even when the woman now bleeds after giving birth, you'll see that the bleeding becomes excessive, which is what we call postpartum hemorrhage, which is what iron deficiency causes, and one of the things we are trying to talk about, because this year the theme is saying iron for maternal survival, combating iron deficiency to prevent postpartum hemorrhage, which is bleeding excessively after pregnancy. That has caused a lot of death. So we are here to talk about the importance of making sure that you optimize iron in the pregnancy.
And that's a beautiful one because I was getting to that point where I know you have themes for every year,
Yes.
but you still speak to that
Okay.
after I'm through with this next question as a follow-up to what you just responded to now. What are the main causes now of which deficiency, of iron deficiency, and how can it be prevented before we go to the symptoms and diagnosis? Can you speak to that quickly?
Okay, so when we say what are the causes, so number one of the things that can cause iron deficiency is when you're not eating enough. So the woman is, usually during pregnancy, say this one is smelly. Once I taste this one, I'm vomiting. A lot of all those issues. So because of that, there is poor intake. So when there's poor intake, definitely there will be iron deficiency. Then secondly, when there's increased utilization, in that your body is taking in faster than you can replace, which happens during pregnancy. So you have the woman's body trying to take in iron, the child that is developing also trying to take in iron, and there's great utilization of the iron content, and the iron is not being replaced as it is being utilized. Then thirdly, when there's increased loss, which is what we see during bleeding, so probably during heavy menstrual flow or excessive bleeding after delivery. So a lot of it is being removed from the body. So excessive loss is also one of the things that can cause iron deficiency. So we also have issues where you take things that affect absorption, so that even if you're eating it, you're taking the iron, but something is preventing iron from being absorbed into the system. And one of the commonest causes, we have there's something that's contained in tea, which we call tannin, and then in coffee, that prevents absorption. So you're actually taking the iron, but it's not being absorbed into the body. So those are like the four main categories of things that can cause iron deficiency. So how can we prevent it? So we are telling mothers that once you're pregnant, please go and enroll for antenatal care. Thank God that we have our healthcare workers, our doctors and nurses that are skilled, and we also have the facilities around us in Delta State. So we don't actually have an excuse why we cannot enroll for antenatal care. So we should go to our primary healthcare centers, go and enroll for antenatal care, so that you go there regularly. Sometimes we enroll, we are pregnant, we go and enroll. Next time they'll see us, we are coming in labor. By that it'll be like say, you're seeing something. So that is not the practice we encourage. Once you enroll for antenatal care, make sure you attend your antenatal care. Don't say, I've already been pregnant before, I know the way it is. Every pregnancy is different. Because once you attend the antenatal care, you are routinely checked. Your blood level is checked. And so if there's any issue, it's intervened on time. But when you come very late, you just make it like an emergency. Everybody's running up and down trying to see how they can save the baby, which is what we want to talk against. So enroll for antenatal care. Secondly, make sure that you eat foods that are rich in iron. We mentioned some. We said make sure you take a lot of green leafy vegetables, animal meat, beef, chicken, beans. Those are foods that are rich in iron. Then take a lot of vitamin C. A lot of vitamin C is also advocated. Take fruits too rich in vitamin C. Then when they prescribe drugs for you when you go for antenatal, please don't keep it aside. Don't throw it under the bed. Make sure you are taking those iron supplements, because they help you, because your body is utilizing a lot of iron. So those pills help you to replace what you need on a daily basis. So also our men can come in here, please. You help to check your wife, make sure that she's taking the drugs as prescribed in the hospital. Then try to reduce on things that will reduce absorption. It's like you're doing all these things, but you know why you're still taking things that reduce iron absorption. So tea, coffee, just try to reduce on all that. But eat a lot of foods that contain iron.
Okay, a lot of foods that contain iron. Okay, now I see particular reasons why you see some women who are heavy, and the next thing they will say is, apple,
Okay.
apple, apple.
The
And you see
husband
that,
should
you
provide
say,
for them
the husband should provide apple
in the
for
middle
them.
of the night.
In the middle of the night, I want to eat apple. Apple. Is it the pregnancy of apple that is the problem, or what's really the problem? Then you see some say, no, is that rice that they sell inside leaf? That's it. That's why they hungry me. Or you say, no, it's abacha. What's abacha? It's not rich
No,
in
but
calcium.
no, so far they add other
Mm.
things to it.
Okay.
Yes, to fortify it. So
Mm.
she can add her meat to it, add those the green vegetables that they add to it. And once you add it, then you know that you're not good.
Okay. Okay. Now let's look at the symptoms now and diagnosis. What are the typical symptoms of iron deficiency, and how can people identify them?
Okay, so what are the symptoms? We talked about the fact that it's very important in carrying of oxygen around the body. So you can imagine when they are not carrying oxygen around the body, what are the kind of symptoms that you see? So there's weakness, so you see that you're weak, when it's not feeling really tired. Then your skin looks very pale, people are like, why is your skin looking like that? Then you have headaches, your hands, your legs, your extremities are cold, and sometimes it can lead to hair loss. But even though that's more extreme, but more commonly, you have weakness, you're tired, headaches, your heart's beating unusually fast. Then for the mothers, apart from these other symptoms now, mentally it could cause depression, can cause anxiety, cause mood swings. And then you see a woman that she's her time for delivery has not yet reached after having some kind of chronic contraction, so it can cause preterm labor, and it can also cause her to now give birth to low birth weight children, and all that. So those are some of the symptoms that you can have, that you can see or you can feel, and then you don't feel that I'm most likely my blood is low, that kind of thing. Confusion, you can't really stand too well, you're weak, all those kind of symptoms. Yeah, so for diagnosis though, some of these symptoms too can also be a pointer to other things. So you cannot really know until you go to the hospital. So based on these symptoms, you can go to the hospital and say, doctor, I'm feeling dizzy, I can't stand too well, I feel usually weak, I feel, a lot of all these symptoms. So when you go to the hospital, they'll take your blood and then they actually run the test. So it's from running the test in the hospital, they will now tell you if you actually have iron deficiency, because there's a lot of things that they will see in the hospital that will actually confirm the diagnosis based on the symptoms that you feel.
Okay. Now the team. I said we're going to get to that point. The team for this year, you said has to do with
Iron for maternal survival.
iron for
Maternal survival.
survival. So, why the choice of that team? Because obviously, it's global.
Yes.
Because it's a day that has been set aside by the United Nations. So look at it from the global perspective. So what global efforts now are underway to address iron deficiency and anemia?
Okay, so the theme for this year is Iron for Maternal Survival, combating iron deficiency to prevent postpartum malnutrition. So we know that globally, iron deficiency definitely is not only affecting only women in the sub-Saharan region, but we have a lot of women also that are being affected. Over 130 million, being affected with iron deficiency. So because of the fact that one of the commonest causes of maternal mortality is hemorrhage, in addition to other causes which we have sepsis, infection of second labor, we have other things like eclampsia and abortions, safe abortions. All those things also contribute to maternal mortality. But number one on the list is hemorrhage, and 50% of the causes of hemorrhage is usually due to iron deficiency. So because of this and the fact that the way we can prevent it is something that is within our reach. So why can't we do something about it by speaking to our women? So globally, and especially here in Nigeria, we want to thank our Medical Women, National President, Professor Rosemary Ogu, and also the President of M1 Delta State, Dr. Olibogele. They've come together, with this project to see that across the country, we are speaking and advocating to women as advocates, that we can prevent it. Why do we have to wait till when it is almost too late, when the woman is bleeding after delivery, and then people are running up and down, when there are simple things that you can do to prevent, things that are within our reach? So early antenatal, you enroll for antenatal on time, you eat the food that is required, and then iron supplements. So in some places now we have other medical women going around giving out iron supplements to women, also talking to the women about how they can prevent it, and also deworming children, because one of the issues that can cause iron deficiency in children is actually worm infestation. We talked about the fact that when we have increased utilization, so in children they are eating, but then we have worm that is sucking up all the iron and making them iron deficient. So they're also deworming children, giving iron supplementation, also creating awareness, especially in schools. Most of the time our mothers, our children, they go to school without having to eat breakfast or anything. So even when they come back, the diet that they are eating, what are you giving them? So we must make sure that whatever food that we are giving our children, whatever food that we are eating as mothers, also let me not forget the men. Also the food you're giving your husbands too should also contain iron. So we are creating awareness, letting them know the food that contain iron, and making them know that they need to make sure that they do not become anemic, they do not have no blood, so that they can function well, because it can affect the way you function, especially at work, even in school. And they will not know that it's because you're iron deficient. People don't think about it, they be thinking about other things. They don't know that it's because you're iron deficient, that's why you're not able to function well at work, you're not able to function well at school. And ultimately it will affect productivity, and it will affect us as a nation. So globally we are speaking up, we are saying iron for maternal survival, but not only for maternal survival, to encompass everybody, especially those that are greatly affected. That's why we are saying mothers, our children, so that we can prevent postpartum hemorrhage. If we do what is necessary, we see that we are able to reduce that statistic. I mean, it's alarming. Out of 100,000 women, we are saying that at least 1,000, and it's not good. Even though it's statistics, those are people's mothers, those are human beings, and we are trying to see that how we can reduce it. If hemorrhage is on top of it, and we know that iron deficiency contributes greatly to the hemorrhage, then why can't we do something about it? So that's why we have come up under the auspices of the Medical Women's Association of Nigeria. This is done across the country. This is under Delta State. We are here to speak to our people. That's why we know that a lot of people are listening. A lot of people tune into DBS TV. And so we know that you're listening. But not just listen, please. Go home with the message and do something about it, so that we can reduce maternal mortality.
All right, I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Idoteni, by that summary of yours, by executive summary of yours. You've given us the message. Except otherwise, I would have just like to ask you on a closing note that the message you really like to convey to our viewers about the importance of actually addressing iron deficiency as we celebrate the World Iron Deficiency Day. Apart from this advocacy, are there other form of campaigns you intend to also carry out as well?
Yes, so for us in Delta State, apart from this, we are also going to be giving talks in antenatal clinics. We are going to go across the hospitals in the states, majorly those that we have a lot of women, so we're going to be targeting our tertiary hospitals. So when a lot of women come, so we are hoping that we'll also speak to them about the importance of making sure that they are not iron deficient, that they keep coming for their antenatal, they take their drugs. A lot of women, I don't know why, they don't like taking drugs. But then we are hoping that they will hear this message and know that the drug is not just for taking drugs and that it's actually supposed to help to prevent a lot of things, and to make sure that they have positive pregnancy outcome, so that we are all happy at the end of it all. As medical women, we have our motto that says healing with the love of the mother. So we are going to be going around as mothers that we are, mothers to be, to make sure that we spread this message and also make sure that everybody does what they are supposed to do. So that we all work together. It's not just a one-man show. We're all working together to make sure that we actually combat iron deficiency, and make sure that our mothers are, stronger and able to do what they are supposed to do. Also, our mothers and children, and ultimately the whole nation. So we are also sending out this message and thanking everybody, and also our those that have been behind us, supporting us. We appreciate you. Everyone appreciates you to make sure that we create this awareness across the country.
All right. Thank you so much, so much, Dr. Idotien, Internal Auditor, Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Delta State, for speaking to the conversation, iron deficiency, as the world celebrates the World Iron Deficiency Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we do hope subsequently would also, because it's not just a one runoff. Those who have ears, they say, let them hear. Most especially to our women who feel, there's nothing wrong, I'm okay, till 9 months' time. It's very important that you do your periodical checks, as far as, all of this is concerned. Thank you so much, Dr. Enyi, for coming. All right, we'll take a break now, and when we come back, Morning Ride continues. Don't go away. Wait, wait. All right, you're still on to Morning Ride, and we are at that conversation where we're looking at what the papers are actually saying this morning. And joining me to speak to all of this conversation is Mr. Henry. Henry Osiayo, how are you doing this morning?
I'm very fine. A very good morning to you.
Yeah, thanks for picking it up there. We'll take first a look at the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper has, it simply put this way, GDP growth figures, more work needs to be done. That is credited to Mr. President himself, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Okay, we'll just take the major headlines and we'll allow Henry to speak to the conversations. The next paper, the Nigeria Tribune, has below the masthead of the Nigerian Tribune, senators query federal government borrowing, Tinubu's minister justifies plans. Senators query federal government's borrowing, Tinubu's ministers justify plans. And we also have from the Guardian newspaper as well. We'll just take major headlines because of our time. The Guardian newspaper has GDP defies inflation shock as Nigerians take informal jobs. GDP defies inflation shocks. So despite inflation in the country, the GDP has defied it as more Nigerians take informal jobs. Okay? Nigeria's GDP grows 3.46% in quarter of 24, and boosted by services sector. Nigeria's GDP grows 3.46% in quarter 3, 2024, boosted by services. INEC counters PDP's governors on bringing claims. Atiku's camp accuses Wala for betrayal for personal gain. Vice President Shettima advocates tech-driven approach to tackle insecurity. All right, the Nation newspaper, virtually all the papers this morning have on the GDP.
Yeah.
And this one from the Nation that says Tinubu excited, experts optimistic over 3.46% third quarter GDP growth. All right, that is it from the Nation newspaper. Okay, we'll just take one more story there. Why federal government is borrowing by Edu Bagudu and the FIRS boss. Okay, the new Telegraph is our next paper for review, and it simply also captured Tinubu third quarter GDP growth indicates recovery from reforms and unintended effects. That's it. I think the only paper now that has defied its story on the GDP is the Daily Trust. Daily Trust has villagers flee as gunmen kill many in Benue State. All right. Okay. The Punch. Okay, that's the Daily Trust there. Villagers flee as gunmen kill many in Benue State. The Punch, which is our last paper for review, we'll just take one above the masthead. Labor protests. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics drop in the unemployment rate. Japa workers on federal government payroll resigning amid probe. State tackled NNPCL over extra 1 million naira subsidy repayment. Okay, the lead story here for the Punch. Lakurawa, federal government plans more troops as sect spreads in the north. Okay, I think then from the Punch newspaper, which is our last paper for review this morning, Delta State government, the pointer actually, if our camera crew can just flash back to the studio now, so that we'll pick up that story. Can you pick up that story from the studio this morning? As encapsulated, Delta State government will not borrow to fund 2025 budget. That statement is credited to the Honorable Commissioner for Finance, Fidelis Tilije. Okay, I want Henry to just quickly, Henry, you're welcome to the studios.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our conversation this morning. Let's just take briefly the Pointer newspaper before we go to other stories. This statement is credited to the Honorable Commissioner for Finance that Delta will not borrow to fund 2025 budget. Can you speak to that quickly from your understanding?
Yeah, right from when the governor, Honorable Sheriff, will take over, he has made it clear that he's not going to borrow. And of course, when you see the presentation of the budget to the House, it was clearly stated that it was a Christian 2025 budget of fiscal consolidation, and is trying to ensure that what is within the ambit of the state is what it's going to work with. And Tilije, the Commissioner for Finance, coming to at least talk about it, goes further to tell you that this government, this administration is ready to ensure that we can be able to generate our revenue, and from there we fund our own budget. And this is what we are actually clamoring for the national to also do, rather than putting us in debt. Let's see how we can harness and of course fund our budget. A lot of persons are just like one of the headlines you read, where the Senate is actually questioning the borrowing. That is what we should be doing. Why are we borrowing? Why do we keep borrowing? Why not? I keep saying that Delta State should be a template for even the national to copy from. We have diverse culture, diverse ethnicity and languages, just like we have in Nigeria. But we have been able to live in a peaceful coexistence, and of course we'll be seeing relative peace because of how we have been able to accept each other. And for Tilije to say Delta State is not going to borrow, it is the stand of the state governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborowori, and of course I'm really happy about that, we will not be towing that line of borrowing just like the federal government is doing. And all the papers are washed with the GDP growth. And of course, one thing you have to note is it was specifically stated by the National Bureau of Statistics that it is the service sector that is giving us this growth. And the service sector, is just like the non-formal sector, which comprises of the banking and of course providing of services. And this day you keep seeing a lot of Nigerians earning in dollar. Why? Because they decide to digress to ICT, and of course we've seen data analysts, so many of them, and they are working for companies even outside the shores of the country and earning in dollars, and that is why the GDP, we are seeing a little boost of it. If the government could be very sensitive and actually see how they can actually leverage on creating more avenue for people to go into the ICT, it will go a long way to further boost our GDP, because it has clearly stated several times that the National Bureau of Statistics released their report. We see that even remittance from abroad and from other places is even much more than what the government itself is generating. I saw the report yesterday, and from the breakdown of the report, we can see that another sector that was a little bit higher in terms of that growth was in the real estate. The real estate is where we are seeing much more growth. Even in Delta State, we've seen so much. You see the adverts everywhere. So much real estate companies springing up, and of course everywhere getting developed. And development is actually key for the growth of any GDP. And according to the report, it said the real estate growth of the real growth of the oil sector, which we Nigerians are actually known for. We feel our economy is mostly on the oil sector. It was just 5.17% on year, the third quarter of 2024, although it's just a little increase of 6.02 relative to what was recorded in 2023. He said, but the non-oil sector grew by 3.37% in the real terms and a rate of 0.62. It means we are gradually fading off from this oil
phenomenon.
Yeah, so I think the COP, that is the COP climate change summit, that is what everybody is sitting to. By 2050, a zero gas emission. So we should begin to also teach towards embracing more ICT, so that our youth also can actually be meaningfully engaged, because you don't have to be in an office, you can even work from home. So I think let the government be sensible enough and see how they can grow our ICT, and probably the next report, our GDP might also grow. And of course, also yesterday, the NBC did actually release another statement that employment level also has declined in Nigeria. That is, unemployment rate has gone to 4.3% in the second quarter of 2024. This is actually what we are looking at, because people now, they are now self-employed.
Yes.
They are now self-employed, and that is what we actually feel that there should be, government should also create an avenue where people can actually thrive. The incoming tax reform, I think they should hold it forth. Since we are growing, let us see how our economy can boost up, even despite the removal of fuel subsidy.
Yes,
that has actually created a lot of phobia and of course economic hardship. But Nigerians, like they said, they are very resilient. In the face of fuel subsidy, they still find other things to do. So the government should do more.
Okay, I'd like to thank you so much, Henry Osiayo, just at the speed of the thunder. You have been able to go around the major. We do hope again that we would have another time again, more elaborate time to actually speak to our paper conversation. Okay, this is where we draw the curtains for today, Tuesday's edition of the Top Flight television program, Morning Ride. On behalf of the production crew, Fate of Operayi, Robo, and of course the entire men behind the camera. I want to say thank you. We'll do it again bright and early, same time tomorrow. My name is Onome Tano. God bless Delta State. God bless Nigeria. I'm out.
In the heart of the Niger Delta, where tradition meets modernity, there lies a community that has, for centuries, shaped its destiny through strength, unity, and resilience. Welcome to Anioma Trends. Anioma Trends bring you closer to the news makers and inspiring stories of those shaping the future of Anioma land. Join us every Monday on DBS Asaba by 7 p.m., Wednesdays on Quest Television by 8 p.m., and a repeat on Sunday by 8 p.m., and Saturdays on NTA Asaba by 10:30 a.m. as we sit with leaders, intellectuals, and influencers who have become the change makers in Anioma society. Anioma Trends, your window into the rich aesthetics of the Anioma people.
Societies, especially in most African societies, the girl child has been relegated to the background. Some African parents would rather prefer to invest on the board